Welcome to English Now. Today, you will practice shadowing with a short English story designed to sharpen your pronunciation, rhythm, and natural speaking flow. This session is made for learners who already speak English well, but want to elevate clarity, confidence, and real-time speaking speed. For the next several minutes, you will listen, repeat, and synchronize your speech with mine. Stay focused, stay present, and let your voice follow the sound you hear. Before we begin, check the first pinned comment and download the ebook, Train Your Advanced English, Fluency in Practice. It will help you reinforce everything you learned today. Now take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Get ready to shadow every sentence with intention. Let's start the story. James woke up earlier than usual. The sun was barely rising, and the air still felt cool and quiet. He stretched his arms, walked to the window, and looked outside. The city below was calm, almost peaceful, as if holding its breath before a busy day. He brewed a cup of strong coffee and took a slow sip. This morning felt different. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't checking his phone. He simply stood there, listening to the soft hum of the world waking up. A small notebook lay open on his table. Inside it, he kept a list of personal goals. Nothing dramatic, just simple habits he wanted to build. Today, he planned to focus on one of them, speaking with intention. As he finished his coffee, he repeated the phrase quietly. Speak with intention. He liked how calm and strong it sounded. He took a deep breath, grabbed his notebook, and headed out the door. Continue shadowing with me. James walked down the stairs, feeling each step more awake than the last. The hallway light flickered slightly, and he smiled. This building was old, but charming in its own way. When he stepped outside, a cool breeze brushed against his face. The sky was turning gold, and he felt ready for the day. He began walking toward the train station. Birds echoed in the distance, and the street slowly filled with movement. A cyclist passed by. A bakery opened its doors. The smell of fresh bread floated through the air. James paused for a moment. He closed his eyes and tried to focus on the present. He didn't want to start the day on autopilot. He wanted to pay attention to everything. He opened his eyes again, feeling grounded. Then he continued walking with a steady, calm pace. Keep shadowing. When James reached the station, the platform was still quiet. Only a few people were waiting. A woman with headphones. An older man reading a newspaper. A student yawning into a cup of tea. James checked the time. He was early. For once, he enjoyed that feeling. He leaned against a pillar and opened his notebook again. The words, "Speak with intention," stared back at him. He read them slowly, shaping each sound carefully. The train approached from the distance, its low rumble growing louder. James closed the notebook, straightened his posture, and prepared to start his day with purpose. James stepped onto the train and felt the subtle vibration under his feet as the doors closed. He found a seat near the window, placed his notebook on his lap, and took a slow breath. The train started moving, and the city passed by in soft motion. A recorded voice announced the next station. James listened carefully, repeating the words in his mind. Across from him, a young woman typed quickly on her laptop. Her focus reminded him of what he aimed for today. He adjusted his posture and whispered, "Speak with intention." He observed small details around him. A man tapping his foot, a child pointing at buildings, two friends laughing quietly. The scene felt meaningful. Keep shadowing. The train reached the next station. More passengers entered. James noticed a tall man holding a sketchbook filled with confident drawings. It reminded him that every skill grows with practice. The train continued. When he reached his stop, James stepped onto the platform and walked with deliberate calm. He exited the station and felt the warm sunlight on his face. He passed a cafe but chose to try a tea shop across the street called Morning Leaves. The calm atmosphere welcomed him. A barista asked what he wanted. "Something to help me focus," he said. She prepared a cup of lemon mint clarity. James sat near the window, feeling the warm cup in his hands. "Continue shadowing." He tasted the tea, bright, clean, refreshing. He opened his notebook and wrote a new intention under the first one. "Be fully present." He repeated softly, "Speak with intention. Be fully present." The traffic outside created a gentle background sound. James wrote more. "I want to communicate clearly. I want to express myself confidently." After finishing his tea, he stepped back outside and walked toward a small park. Inside, he found a bench under the shade and sat down. He breathed deeply and whispered his three intentions. "Speak with intention. Be fully present. Listen deeply." He felt those words settling into him as the calm of the park surrounded him. James left the quiet corner of the park and continued walking along the shaded path. Birds called from the branches above, and the soft crunch of gravel followed each of his steps. He glanced at his notebook, reading the 4 phrases again. "Speak with intention. Be fully present. Listen deeply. Think before speaking." He repeated them slowly, shaping each word with calm focus. A gentle breeze passed through the trees, carrying the scent of lavender from a nearby garden. James walked toward it, enjoying the peaceful air. An older man sketched the garden's plants with steady hands. James admired the patience in each pencil stroke, noticing how similar it felt to practicing speech: steady, deliberate, attentive. "Keep shadowing." He continued along the path until he reached the pond. The water rippled softly as ducks drifted by. James sat on a bench and allowed the scene to settle his mind. He whispered, "Clear mind, clear voice." He practiced the phrase again, focusing on tone and rhythm. After a moment, he stood and walked to the central plaza of the park. A violinist played a warm, slow melody. James stopped to listen, letting the music guide his breathing. He repeated quietly, "I move with purpose." The words matched the flow of the melody. Continue shadowing. He moved toward the cafe kiosk by the fountain. People chatted, laughed, and ordered drinks. James listened to their conversations, not for meaning but for rhythm. Fast voices, slow voices, confident voices. He practiced a new line under his breath. Clarity is a habit. Leaving the park, he stepped onto the busy street. Cars passed quickly. Cyclists weaved through traffic. People walked with hurried steps. James moved with steady calm. As he walked, he spotted a small bookstore he had never noticed before. The sign read, "Westbridge Books, Stories for Curious Minds." He stepped inside. The quiet air smelled of old paper. He found a section labeled Communication and Expression. One book stood out. "Speak well." He whispered a line from it. "Your voice reflects your mind." He repeated it again, letting each word land with intention. James stepped back outside, ready to continue his day with purpose. James continued walking down the busy street, letting the energy of the city flow around him without pulling him in. He kept his pace steady, his shoulders relaxed, his breath controlled. Every few steps, he repeated quietly, "Your voice reflects your mind." The phrase felt like an anchor, simple, strong, grounding. He turned onto a quieter avenue lined with tall trees. Shadows stretched across the sidewalk, creating a calm rhythm of light and dark. A cyclist passed by with a soft whir of wheels. A dog trotted beside its owner, tail wagging lazily. James felt the shift in atmosphere, and his thoughts settled even more. Keep shadowing. He eventually reached a small plaza with a fountain in the center. People sat on the low stone wall, sipping drinks, checking messages, or simply resting. James stopped for a moment, watching the water rise and fall in a soft, steady pattern. It inspired another line he wanted to practice. He whispered, "Steady voice, steady mind." He repeated it again, matching the flow of the fountain. A street painter nearby was working on a canvas. Brush strokes moved in slow, confident motions. James admired the patience behind each line. It reminded him of how important consistency is, whether in art, speaking, or self-improvement. He walked closer to observe the painting. It showed the plaza itself, captured with warm colors and gentle contrast. A moment turned into art. A quiet scene made meaningful. James repeated softly, "Pay attention to the moment." Continue shadowing. Leaving the plaza, he followed a long walkway that led toward a modern library. The large glass windows reflected sunlight like calm water. He felt drawn to the building, so he stepped inside. The library was silent, cool, and open. Tall shelves stretched upward, filled with books of every size. People worked quietly at tables, tapping keys, underlining paragraphs, reading with focus. James walked through the aisles slowly. He loved this atmosphere, calm, thoughtful, organized. He paused at a shelf labeled Public Speaking and Communication. He picked up a book and flipped it open to a random page. A line stood out. "Speak from clarity, not from hurry." He whispered it, shaping the rhythm carefully. He practiced again. "Speak from clarity, not from hurry." He memorized the phrase, then placed the book back. "Shadow this next part." James walked to the study area and sat at an empty table. He opened his notebook and wrote down the new lines he had collected throughout the morning. Speak with intention. Be fully present. Listen deeply. Think before speaking. Your voice reflects your mind. Steady voice, steady mind. Pay attention to the moment. Speak from clarity, not from hurry. He read the entire list aloud in a low voice, practicing each sentence with steady tone and controlled pacing. A librarian walked by, smiling politely. James nodded back and kept practicing quietly. He closed his notebook and focused on a simple breathing pattern. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. He repeated the cycle a few times. His voice always felt clearer after controlled breathing. He whispered another phrase. Calm breath, calm voice. Continue shadowing. After leaving the library, James followed a narrow street filled with small shops and cafes. The scent of pastries and roasted coffee drifted through the air. A busker played soft guitar near a bookstore entrance. The harmony mixed with the light footsteps of people passing by. James paused near the musician. He listened to the melody and matched his speech to its slow rhythm. He whispered, "Move through the day with calm confidence." The sentence felt natural, almost musical. He walked onward, passing a small boutique where the owner arranged items in the window. James heard her greeting a customer with warmth and clarity. He paid attention to her tone. It was friendly, measured, confident. He practiced softly. Warm tone, clear message. He repeated it again, focusing on articulation. Keep shadowing. Further down the street, he reached a quiet courtyard with tables and umbrellas. People were working on laptops, sipping drinks, or sketching in notebooks. James chose an empty table, sat down, and took a moment to observe the scene. He watched a man speaking on a video call. The man spoke slowly, choosing words carefully. His pacing was natural and calm. James admired that style. He whispered, "Choose words with care." He wrote the line in his notebook. A gentle wind moved through the courtyard, lifting the edges of napkins and leaves. James leaned back and took a slow breath. Everything around him felt steady, balanced, peaceful. He repeated all his practiced phrases again, slowly, clearly, intentionally. Then he looked around the courtyard, noticing more details. The soft tapping of keys, the rustle of pages turning, the clinking of cups, the murmur of polite conversations. He let the environment become part of his practice. James whispered one more line. Let your voice match your intention. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting each word settle inside him. James sat quietly in the courtyard, listening to the low hum of conversations around him. He opened his notebook again and read the phrases he had collected throughout the day. Each one felt stronger now, clearer, more natural. He whispered softly, "Let your voice match your intention." He stood up and walked toward the exit of the courtyard, moving with steady confidence. As he stepped back onto the street, the afternoon light warmed the buildings around him. James took one slow breath and repeated his final line of practice for the day. "I speak with clarity and calm." He felt grounded, focused, and ready for the rest of his day. If you enjoyed this practice, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more.